So hello students, if you see this year 2025 mains exam as far as history is concerned, so the questions are equally distributed. There are two questions from the culture and one question from medieval history, one modern, one post-independent and one world history. So as far as medieval history question is concerned, there is a question regarding Akbar. Examine the main aspects of Akbar's religious syncretism. Syncretism means that how he had evolved, or you can say merged different ideas into one. And first of all, regarding this particular question, why there was a question based on Akbar. So if you see, in the last few months, Akbar had been in news. Akbar had been in news and he had been severely debated, and there has been some sort of new books also on Akbar as far as NCERT is concerned. So that's may be the reason. I'm not saying that it is the sole reason for asking question, but that can be the reason because he was in news. So religious syncretism means that how he had, or what were those thought processes which had in a way influenced Akbar in evolving with the ideas. So right from his childhood days, and what an irony, you see, Akbar, being an illiterate, had come out with a new religion known as Deen-e-Ilahi. So right from his childhood days, he was interested in everything but except studies. And he was born with a speculative bent of mind, or you can say inquisitive bent of mind. Humayun had also, his father Humayun had also had a tutor, Abdul Latif. And this tutor also had an influence on Akbar. So Akbar had shown a broad perspective regarding various communities and religious people. And this thought process had evolved over a period of time. It was not in one day transformation. So when he was coming out of the regency period, regency means when he was being governed by a closed coterie of loyal people, means immediately after coming out, this is the period of regency 1556 to 1560. Once he was out of the regency period, once he was guided by his own wisdom, then first time he attacked on Malwa 1561, and right from the first attack his ideas had been reflected or had been shown in. So this idea could be reflected in the sense that he had in 1562 he stopped forcible conversion of prisoner of war to Islam. Not only that, earlier the rulers used to wage wars, and when they became victorious, they started forcibly converting people to Islam. But Akbar stopped this practice. And not only that, this is also the same year in which he got married to a Rajput princess of Amir, and he gave enough scope for the people to who were part of the royal harem to practice his or her own religion. So Rajput princes with whom Akbar had marriages, Akbar did not infringe or did not, you can say, interfere in their religious worship, and they were given all ample freedom to pursue their own religious faith. Plus, he had also stopped forcibly converting villagers or the villages of the adversaries to Islam. Secondly, since Akbar knew that this is a country which had been predominantly settled by non-Muslim people, and therefore in 1563 he abolished pilgrim tax. Pilgrim tax was a tax which was mainly imposed on Hindus when Hindus went to religious places like Mathura. So Akbar stopped, you can say, pilgrim tax in the year 1563. And the most disputed tax in history, that is jizya. Jizya was also stopped in the year 1564, and it was welcomed by the Hindu community also of that time period, and by the religious leaders. So the belief system of Akbar had been gradually evolving, and Akbar had also influence of the liberal Sufis and Hindu yogis. And the impact of the Sufis and the yogis, or you can say Bhakti saints, had led to Akbar constructing a building in Fatehpur Sikri, his newly capital, which he had built after the conquest of Gujarat. Okay, Fatehpur Sikri, where he opened a building called as Ibadat Khana. Literally, if you see Ibadat Khana, literal meaning of Ibadat is worship. But this is a place which was not a worship place. This was the place for religious discussions or discussions on theological matters as well as matters apart from religion. So initially when this building was opened, it was opened in the year 1575 and invited people were Muslims, Muslim theologians or Muslim what you can say ulemas. Okay, Muslim ulemas were invited. But when Muslim ulemas were having discussion with Akbar, Muslim theologians or the ulemas tried to project a picture that Islam is the only established truth. Akbar was not so much what you can say narrow-minded to consider as the Islam as the only established religion, and he closed the gates also. Later, after some time, he opened, you can say, gates of Ibadat Khana for people of other religious sect also, like Jain, Parsi, Hindus, and as well as Christian missionaries. He had asked two Christian bishops from the Portuguese, and they were Father Montserrat and Father Aquaviva, who had been sent to Fatehpur Sikri, where in this building Ibadat Khana, Akbar had debates with these people. And at times, certain questions had been quite perplexing and puzzling Akbar. And Akbar had also spent nights, okay, waking up all the night on the terrace of the building of Ibadat Khana and meditating also. So he was born like that. He was born with speculative bent of mind and he used to meditate. And certain questions like, how many gods are there? Akbar was also concerned with these questions like how many gods are there, because he had seen people worshipping different religion, different god. So was there any finite number, or there were n number of gods, or there is any specific number of god, or in other words, if there is only one god, then why people are worshipping so many gods? So these things keep on haunting Akbar, and that was the reason for the Ibadat Khana. And the debate which had been taken up here, the issues which were being taken up here, or the questions which had been discussed in this Ibadat Khana building, Akbar's evolution was that final evolution, Akbar's final evolution of his religious thought led to the starting of a religion known as Deen-e-Ilahi. Okay, Ilahi is God, Deen is a sect, and Deen-e-Ilahi, or it is also known as Tawheed-e-Ilahi. Tawheed-e-Ilahi, in which Akbar tried to start a new religion, whereby on the day on which he had ascended the throne, he had forbade the killing of animals. And in totality, this religion was not very much successful, and 16 people had followed this Deen-e-Ilahi, and one Hindu who was a member of this Deen-e-Ilahi was Birbal, originally born as Mahesh Das. So, if you see this life of Akbar as far as religious syncretism is concerned, so Akbar had a strong impact of Sufis and Hindu Bhakti saints, as well as he had pursued a broad policy of religious toleration, which we can say as Sulh-e-Kul. So his religious syncretism or Sulh-e-Kul had been shaped by the ideas, or right from the beginning, the influence of the teachers and the surroundings, plus the Hindu Rajput princes with whom Akbar had marriage alliances. All this had a bearing on Akbar, and this is what the final culmination of Akbar's religious syncretism, coming of a new religion known as Deen-e-Ilahi. Though Deen-e-Ilahi was not very much successful and hardly few people followed that religion, but still it shows his broad mindedness, or it shows that he had a world view. If we go to judge Akbar by that contemporary standard, certainly his religious thought had been a break from the traditional conservative thought of the ulemas. So this thing you can write in this question. This was the question, I think in 150 words, so this will be sufficient to write or substantiate your answer. The next question is from modern history. And that question is, okay, Mahatma Jotirao Phule's writings and efforts of social reform touched issues of almost all subaltern classes. This question is simple question regarding, okay, Jotirao Phule's writings, okay, writings and his efforts, and there is another word, subaltern classes. So first of all, we need to understand the demand of the question. Okay, basically in one word, contribution. Contribution regarding what? Regarding subaltern classes. Subaltern means, in one word, if I can explain, you can simply understand, just for making you understand, okay, marginalized sections of the society. Marginalized sections of the society. So as far as introduction of one sentence is concerned, because it's a GS question, so we should not go for elaborate introduction. One line we can simply write that Jotirao Phule had been instrumental in, you can say, shaping the social reform movement and empowering the subaltern classes. That's all. एक line का introduction आप ये लिख सकते हैं. Next we can say regarding discussion part. So if you see Jotirao Phule's contributions, so whole life, throughout his life, he started a crusade, okay, or sort of holy war, we can say. Crusade literally means holy war, sort of crusade regarding two things. What is that? Entrenched. Entrenched means deep rooted. Entrenched caste based discrimination, caste based discrimination, and the other was Brahmanical orthodoxy. Orthodoxy. These were the two things on which he had focused a lot. And Jotirao Phule, he was, you can say, focusing on these two things, and his focus was, means he tried to address these two issues, and he focused, in a way we can say, 3 E's. What is that? Education, equality, and empowerment. So his focus areas were education, 3 E's, you can say, by simple understanding you can remember 3 E's: education, equality, empowerment. And on whom is his actions, his writings were directed towards whom? To address the concerns of the subaltern classes, or you can say marginalized classes, and bringing their upliftment. So marginalized classes means, you can say, women. Marginalized classes means, say, Dalits. Marginalized classes means, you can say, peasants. So the concerned clientele group was subaltern classes. These are the sections. And writings and efforts. So this effort could be seen in the form of writings like books like, you can say, he had written books like Gulamgiri, as far as writing is to be concerned, Gulamgiri. And there was a book which is Sarvajanik. Sarvajanik means for everyone. Satya Dharma Pustak. Sarvajanik Satya Dharma Pustak. That was the book. So through these books, okay, because the question is also asking about the writings and the efforts. So as far as writings are concerned, through Gulamgiri and Sarvajanik Satya Dharma Pustak, he tried to address the concerns of the subaltern class. And efforts are like building organizations and institutions. Like there was a more famous organization known as Satya Sodhak Samaj, which he had established in the year 1873. So as far as efforts are concerned, building institutions like Satya Samaj and writings, these are the 2 books which you can mention. Otherwise he had written 16 books, but books and papers, but the 2 prominent one was Gulamgiri and this one, Sarvajanik Satya Dharma Pustak. Now Through each of the classes, we will explain his efforts in the direction of addressing the concern of the women. So, Jotirao Phule, first of all, he himself married a woman whose name is Savitri Bai Phule. And when this marriage took place, both the couple were minor. And you see that his wife Savitri Bai Phule was illiterate. Not only that, he had taught his wife, but the couple also opened the first girls' school in Pune in the year 1848 and admitting 9 girls. Okay, 9 girls. So, by making his wife literate and involving his wife also in the effort of opening a school, he had set an example for the later generation people also to treat women with utmost dignity and equality. Apart from that, he was also inspired from Raja Ram Mohan Roy's efforts regarding sati. So he also focused on sati. He also focused on widows and had built a home for the widows, as well as you can say education was imparted to the widows. The second concern regarding Dalits, since he himself belonged to Mali caste. Okay. This name Phule was coming from Mali because this caste used to supply flowers. Okay, flowers in Maratha history to Peshwas, and that is why the name Mali Phul se Phule hai. So Jotirao Phule, since he belonged to Mali caste, who were also part of the greater depressed class society, and that's why he could easily relate with the issues of the Dalits. And for that matter, he had written a book, Gulamgiri, and in this book, he had tried to draw similarities with the American slavery movement and with the Dalits. Okay, Dalits are depressed classes. So he had founded an organization called as Satya Sodhak Samaj in the year 1873, and had appealed to the Dalits to renounce the Brahmanical rituals, to give up the Brahmanical rituals and challenge the Vedic superiority. So by raising the concerns of the Dalits or the issues of the Dalits, he had empowered them as well as gave them a kind of new identity and political consciousness. Not only that, Jotirao Phule's writings had also influenced later generation leaders, or in fact one of the greatest, you can say, Dalit leader or leader of the entire India, Ambedkar. Okay. In the 20th century, Ambedkar had been greatly influenced by Jotirao Phule and the reform movement like Satya Sodhak Samaj. As far as peasants are concerned, okay, the third community marginalized, peasants are concerned. So he blamed the condition of the peasants for British colonial exploitation and peasants' indebtedness to Brahminical moneylenders or Brahmin moneylenders. So he used to say that peasants are bearing the brunt of the moneylender as a class who were mostly Brahmins in that region, as well as you can say British colonial rule. So by taking up the issues of the women, to conclude we can say that by taking up the issues of the women, by addressing the concerns of the Dalits as well as empowering the peasants, so Jotirao Phule had continuously expanded or continuously made effort for raising the issues and concerns of the subaltern classes. Though his movement was more, you can say, localized in Maharashtra region, but in later years it had also influenced the writings of Ambedkar, and in the 20th century Ambedkar had further widened the effort what Jotirao Phule had done in the 19th century. So this way you can conclude the answer. So these are the two questions. Okay, you can learn how to write answers and what sort of content you can provide in your answer. So thank you, all the best.